And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a brand new season of A Bookish Moment. I'm Sarah Eber.
And I am JC Kenny. And Sarah, it's season 4, baby. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. And no better way to get the season rolling than a fabulous author. Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
It has been a while since we've gotten bookish, and I'm so excited to be back here with you. I'm so excited to be back here with our viewers. And I'm so excited to be here with Susan Van Kirk. Susan, woo! Not only are you a fellow Level Best book author, which both JC and I have books with the same publisher, but we are also members of the Writers Who Kill team, which is our blog, and have such a great time. I learned so much from you guys every single month, and so it's really, really amazing to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
And before we get into the celebration of your latest Art Center mystery, which is Death in a Ghostly Hue, I would just love to hear just a little bit about your writing journey. How did you get into writing, and maybe just a quick introduction to some of our viewers who are watching today.
Okay. Well, I actually was a high school English teacher. And I decided toward the end of my high school years, I'd write a memoir about teaching, which I did. And I published it, and it was a lot of fun. So I decided I would do some more writing. And when I retired, I thought I would write mysteries. So I worked another 10 years at Monmouth College, and then began writing mysteries a year later. Got 2 series out now, 11 books, and it's been since about 2011. So I'm kind of puttering right along.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is so cool. So there's one question that I've got to ask right off the bat. Why mystery? I mean, I love it, but what drew you to deciding on that genre?
I think when I was in 5th or 6th grade, I read every one of the Sherlock Holmes short stories and novels, and I've always loved mysteries. I love solving mysteries. So I thought, well, if that's the book that I like to read, I think maybe that's what I should write.
I think that was the light bulb moment for me. I've read mysteries my entire life, but for some reason I really never tried writing them. So once I started writing them, I couldn't stop. And yeah, it's just such a thrilling and exciting genre to be a part of. And so narrowing in, Susan, on the Art Center mysteries, can you tell us just a little bit about how this series features Jill Madison, who is an executive director of an art center? Can you tell us, like, how did you meet Jill? How did you choose your setting? How did the series come about?
Well, that's a very funny story. I live in a small town called Monmouth, Illinois. It's a downstate town of about 10,000 people. We have an art center on our public square. I had never really been in there before. I don't know why. But at one point I decided I'll stop in and see what this place is all about. So I did, and the woman that was the executive director, Christine Gilbert, took me on a tour of the entire art center. I mean, every nook and cranny, the places that people don't normally see. And when we got to the basement, that was the aha moment. This is a perfect place to hide a body. So, that was how I began thinking about writing a book about an art center. But I didn't know that much about art, about putting exhibits up, about judging art, these kinds of things. And I've learned a great deal from Christine along the way. And I've written 3 books about this art center, and Jill Madison, who is also an oil painter. Yes. So And the art center that she's the executive director of was named for her mother, who was a world famous sculptor. So that's kind of the way it began. But I didn't make it easy for her, because in the very first book, which is Death in a Pale Hue, the first week she's the director, they have a burglary. An important sculpture by her mother is stolen, and they find a body in the basement. So gets off to a pretty fast start.
There is nothing worse than finding a body in the basement, or so I've been told.
Well, and what made it worse was she knew the body.
Ooh.
It was one of her best friends.
Oh, yikes.
So her tenure at this art center really kind of starts off with a bang. And I just have to say that I like, what a mystery like writer mindset you have to go to a place and be like, this is a place, this is somewhere to hide a body. I can't tell you, I have had similar thoughts out and about in the world, and it's just really funny that like that's the things that spark our imagination. So
true.
I can't wait to dive more into Jill and her life, because this book 3 has a lot going on. There's a lot of heavy stuff in Jill's life going on, and how it weaves into the mystery. But first, I do want to keep things upbeat and make sure that we welcome our wonderful viewers who are joining us here live. We've got Mizan and Farmhouse Reader chiming in the chat.
Hi,
hello,
folks.
you guys. Welcome back. We're thrilled that you're here. And Farmhouse Reader is hoping that everyone had a great summer. Went by way too fast. I can't agree more. But I do know that Mizan probably would beg to differ, because she's one of our folks who is very much a proponent of the fall. So we've got folks that are glad that summer's over. We've got folks that are sad summer's over. But we're all thrilled that you're here with us today.
Yes.
So thank you guys. Susan, for this, there's so much that I want to talk about with this book, because number one, JC knows, our viewers know, I love a good title, and I love how titles are connected with the story. And one thing that really just came to mind while I was reading is, we have Jill and the fact that her parents were killed in a drunk driving accident several years ago. And the word Ghostly Hue just invokes so much of like past regrets, past memories, things that are occurring. And once we have our mystery kick off, and we'll let you explain what the mystery is, I was just like, light bulb, like so much with this title coming in to tie into Jill's experience. So I wonder if you could share for our readers just a little bit, without, I guess, teasing too much, what the mystery that Jill tackles in this particular installment.
Okay. I have to say that the death of her parents goes through the entire series. That happened 6 years earlier. They were in a head-on collision with a drunk driver. And that drunk driver was found guilty in a trial, actually pleaded guilty and went to prison for 6 years. So in the first 2 books, Jill and her 2 older brothers, one of whom is the detective in town, they have been doing a lot of work on trying to figure out who they are as a family now, with the parents gone. And things were going pretty well through the second book, but then we get to the third book, and no sooner does it begin than the young man that killed their parents shows up in town. He's out of prison. And not only is he out of prison, but he's planning to come back here and stay. And he wants forgiveness. He's looking for redemption. And here's Jill and her 2 brothers who lost their parents to this guy, and they aren't exactly in the mood to be forgiving, especially Jill's brother, Andy, who has a pretty tough temper, and in front of the entire town, he threatens this guy. So that's kind of the way it kicks off.
And
kicks off with a, pardon, I know I'm mixing my metaphors here, but really kicks off with a bang. You know, and
Yes.
and one of the things I just want to say here real quick is, you know, typically we love our cozies because they tend to be a little bit lighter in fare.
Yes.
But I want to say, you know, I want to tip my hat to you for, you know, tackling a real live, you know, a serious issue. You know, it's you know, with the you know, not that we want to bring the whole show down, but the fact that you have this through line in your series of these adults who are dealing with the pain of losing their parents in a traumatic fashion to begin with, and you really bring it home in a big way here in this third book. So, you know, again, I tip my hat to you for being willing to take that on.
Both of my series, this series and the Endurance Mysteries, have social issues running through them. I know I say I kind of write cozy mysteries, but they're kind of cozy leaning toward traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And so I often have themes and social issues that are going through all of my mysteries. It's just who I am. So, yeah.
And I really like the focus of the family unit in this book in particular, especially, and I think he's kind of this, I was just really impressed by his character, but Tom, the detective in the family, you know, he is, especially the way that he approaches the situation with the Quinn Parson, who is the man who was the drunk driver that killed their parents. The way that he just approached it from his law perspective of like, he pleaded guilty, he did the time, and he's out. Whereas his other brother, Andy, is very much like, this guy should never like be able to breathe free air again.
Right.
And how their love for one another was always just like so solid. But they still had these very conflicting opinions. And then you kind of
Yes.
have Jill walking this middle line between them. Can you share, I guess, a bit about your process about that, writing that family dynamic? How did you approach writing them as this unit?
Well, I think some of that comes from my own background.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with two brothers, although I was in the middle. And when I was just 26, my mother died. My younger brother was only 16. It really had a huge impact on our entire family.
Mm-hmm.
And we drifted for a while, which is what happened to Jill in the first book. She's just coming back from Chicago, but she really hasn't been back home a lot because she just couldn't face coming home without her parents there. Tom, on the other hand, like you say, he comes from the point of view of a law enforcement person. So, and he also has a wife and he has two children, which kind of keep him grounded.
Mm-hmm.
But Andy has always been the wild child of the family. And he has a partner, Lance. They own a gift store together and they play in a rock band. But Andy has never been able to get over this situation where his parents died. And he, like you said, does not want to see this guy. At the same time, the three of them, by the time you get to the third book, are really, as you said, a unit. They love each other. They look out for each other. And yeah, that's kind of part of the dynamic of the entire series, but particularly this book where it all begins to kind of come together. And the nice thing about this trilogy is that when I first started writing it, I had to plan all three books, which I had never done before with the other series. But I had an agent, Dawn Dowdle, bless her, and she got me this 3-book contract with Level Best Books. So to do that, I had to make a decision about what each book would be about, what each title was, and I'm terrible with titles. And I had to make it fit together to begin with. So I'm really glad that she did that because I had never put together a series before where I knew what was going to happen in all 3 books. So it's worked really well. And Tom, as her brother and the detective, there aren't very many mysteries that are written where the detective is a brother, the main character. Usually they're romantic or they're stupid or whatever. But in this case, it's been a real tough road trying to figure out what he's able to tell her or not.
Mm-hmm.
But by having this situation involve his brother Andy, he really couldn't get involved as much as he normally would, and that helped. But I really kind of wanted to show them drifting to begin with, then coming together, and then finally in this third book, having to really stand together as a family because of some of the things that happen here.
I was going to ask if this particular storyline was something that you had kind of planned on since the beginning, and it sounds like that the answer is yes.
Yes.
And I did think that the relationship with, or Tom's role, I thought was really refreshing and a nice way to involve law enforcement without having it be too adversarial, because they're family. So I really enjoyed that approach. We also real quickly have DHB joining in the chat, wishing everyone a good afternoon. And I'm looking at the time already, and we're already 15 minutes in, so we have to make sure that we let folks know about the fabulous giveaway that we have for today.
Whoop, whoop.
Susan, would you like to tell our viewers what they will be giving, or what you will be giving away?
Okay, I'm giving away a copy of Death in a Ghostly Hue, which to me looks like it's written backwards.
It is written perfectly fine on our side, so we're good.
Okay. Yeah, the paperback copy, I will mail it off to the person that wins.
Fabulous. And
Nice.
for our mystery, or our magic word for the day that folks can type in to the YouTube chat, just make sure that you are logged into either your YouTube or your Gmail account. Susan, would you like to tell them what the magic word is?
Yes, the word is artist, ARTIST. That's what Jill Madison is.
Perfect. So folks,
There you go, folks. A teacher helping you out by even giving you the spelling. So we want 100%.
that was flawless spelling. When I have tried spelling things in the past here, I've just been like, oh my goodness, please let me get to the end of this correctly. So fabulous. All right. So folks, make sure that you enter into our giveaway this afternoon. And while you are doing that, speaking of artists, the thing that I found that was one of the many things that I found that was so fun about this book is the fact, because Jill is an artist, that she can use color descriptions so well. There were so many cool color words that I learned. I was like, I've never heard of that hue before. My favorite one is cerulean. I absolutely love cerulean. It's one of my favorite. I've loved that word since I heard it in The Devil Wears Prada. But so when I saw cerulean, I was like, yes. But you must have had a lot of fun coming up with the hues that Jill, she's so descriptive with how she encounters individuals out in the world. And I imagine you do that purposefully because she is an artist.
Well, I actually, I don't have that right here next to me, but I actually had a wonderful book that I got right at the beginning of all this. And it is a book that describes every color you can imagine, but it also goes back and tells you the history of those colors, how they began, how they were named, and through history, what they have stood for. And I couldn't get all of that, obviously, into the books, but I thought it would be good to show that my main character saw the world through colors. And of course, the titles are about the word hue is in every title. So that's why I wanted to include the colors, because of her artist background. Me, I'm not an artist. This is a perfect example of writing something you don't know anything about, but having to research it and figure it all out. So,
well, it definitely works. And you just mentioned another thing about the title that jogged my memory about one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, because I had mentioned before, the ghostly hue, because we kind of have the past coming back to haunt them. But then there's also this fun ghost exhibit happening at the art center. And I love a good event. Especially in a cozy mystery in a cozy town. It's always really fun to have some event party, big thing that people are gearing up towards. Would you like to share a little bit about this fun radio play that's happening at the art center?
That's okay. Good question. At our center here in Monmouth, our art center, we have a group of seniors called OFTA, Old Friends Talk Art. And I used that term in my book because they told me it was all right if I did that. So, in fact, tomorrow we have a meeting of that group because the gentleman that is judging a national display at the Art Center is going to be speaking to us about how he made his judgments about this huge exhibit. So every second Wednesday of each month, the OFTA group meets. And they do all kinds of different things. They volunteer to do a lot of things at the Art Center, but they always have a program every month about something involving creativity or the arts. So I decided I would use that in my book because I wanted to show that people that are my age, and I'm 77, still have a lot to give, a lot of interesting things about their lives, but also they volunteer and they do all kinds of things that other people don't necessarily do. And so I decided that they would have a play of The Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde, a radio play. And we have done several radio plays at our art center. The last one we did was Arsenic and Old Lace. And we have a mystery dinner every year where the seniors are involved in that. So I decided they'd do The Canterville Ghost because that story is a story about forgiveness. And I wanted, in this third book, with this young man coming back, I wanted to be able to talk about forgiveness. In the second book, I talked about second chances. And in the first book, I talked about family. Mm-hmm. So the Canterville Ghost Group, which is, it's hilarious because they do all the sound effects and everything with chains and screaming and all that kind of stuff, is very funny. And I thought it would make a nice counterpoint to the fact that there is a ghost in the art center who has evidently been there all along since 1870. No, I'm sorry, since the early 1900s. But because of this play they're doing about forgiveness, that has something to do with his life too. So
very nice.
Kind of parallel themes here.
Yeah.
And he's a very charming ghost.
as it's, it seems ghosts are either super charming or super, super scary. There doesn't seem to be much in between with ghosts.
Well, he did some things in his life he should not have done. Okay. But he's charming and good looking and from the Civil War period.
Oh, nice. So, Susan, unfortunately, we don't have much more time. So just a question as far as Death in a Ghostly Hue, this is, you said, book 3 in the series. Are there going to be any more adventures with Jill and her friends from, I've got it here, from Apple Grove?
Yes. The art center here was built on an apple grove. That's why I named the town that. No, this book is the final book. It's a trilogy, and it will end with this book. And I made sure that I ended it, I think. And then I'm going to go back and write another endurance mystery. I have 4 of those plus a novella, so I'll be heading back in that direction.
Would you like to share a little bit about your endurance mysteries with our viewers?
Oh, sure. I'll be glad to. They began with this book, 3 May Keep a Secret.
Ooh, I love that
nice
title.
And Karen Phillips did this cover. The first 2 books were published by 5 Star before they stopped publishing mysteries. So then I went ahead and self-published the next 2 books. And this is a series about someone that's very like me, a retired English teacher. At the beginning of the series, she's just retiring from teaching in high school. She's a widow. She has an obnoxious sister-in-law that comes over to her house all the time. And she was the teacher of the town detective, who is a beautiful, biracial woman, very smart. I guess I can't use that word on your show, but very, very good at what she does. And they are kind of the team that does the detecting. So Grace Kimball is a sleuth, but she's an amateur sleuth, as it turns out. Fabulous. There's a little romance in it, a lot of history of the area. and I'm getting ready to start book 5. So
Nice.
Excellent.
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, as always, our time flies when we get to talk what we love, and it's mysteries. Before we begin wrapping things up, though, Susan, I figured since it is our first episode back from kind of summer vacation, I'm just curious if maybe we can do like a quick roundtable of, you know, what kind of is what are we up to? What do you have coming up for maybe any events or classes, what have you in the coming months? I know you just mentioned that you're going to be writing the 5th Endurance Mystery, but anything else that you'd like to share with readers?
Well, I just finished like 3 book signings in a row, and last night I did a talk at the library in Galesburg about finding an editor. I'm sorry, a publisher. I have several talks coming up with a mystery group in Galesburg. I haven't ventured too far afield the way I used to. I used to go to a lot of the conferences, but since COVID hit, I kind of have been staying away from those. But I have quite a few talks coming up here in the area, which will be about mysteries, and I'm sure at some point talking a little bit more with people about how to get published and how to find an agent and those kind of things.
Fabulous.
Excellent.
JC, what's up? What's been up? What do you've got looking forward to this for the rest of 2024?
Oh, nothing much. I just might have a new book called Panic in the Panhandle coming out like September 26th. If you're on social media, you may have seen a little hint about it because I may be like pounding people incessantly, buy my book, please. No. Yes, Panic does come out in late September, and I'm super, super excited. I do want to say, folks, if anybody has Apple TV and you either are thinking about or are watching Bad Monkey, Panic in the Panhandle is a little bit more tame version of Bad Monkey. It doesn't nearly have the amount of cursing that Bad Monkey does, even though Bad Monkey is hysterical. What about you, Sarah? I hear you got some things in the pipeline too.
I'm just trying to figure out I was looking at my calendar earlier and I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to make it through? But we will, and we're going to have a blast doing it. I am furiously working away on the final Court of Mystery novel. My plan is to have that out by November of this year. I have the next book blogger mystery is going to be my next project that I'll be working on in writing. But also the first book in the series, Over My Dead Blog, is going to be coming out on audiobook fairly soon, which I'm super excited about. So lots of fun things. And I am definitely going to be talking about Bad Monkey during the Bookish Hour this week when we talk about our roundup of things that we recommend, because I am loving it. And every time I see it, I tell George, I'm like, that's JC's book reminds me of this so much. So I very much am enjoying it. So folks who are watching today, I apologize if you hear me repeating myself. When we come back on Thursday for our first episode of the Bookish Hour this season, we're going to be joined by Daphne Silver. We're going to be talking about her book, Crime and Parchment, which won the Agatha for Best first mystery this past year, and she's getting ready for the second book in the series to come out. So that'll be a fun chat that we will have on Thursday.
But before we get there, Sarah, I think we got a giveaway to give away.
We do have a giveaway to give away. And so folks, if you haven't had time to put in the word artist into the chat, I'm going to give you like 30 more seconds to do so while I highlight some stuff on my end.
So Susan, real quick then, sorry to interrupt you, Sarah, but Susan, while Sarah's doing that, where can people find you online? If they want to connect with you on social media, do you do any blogging, some stuff like that, perhaps?
Yes, I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Threads. I do blogging with Writers Who Kill, as you already mentioned. I also have a blog at my website. So if you just type in my name to Google, you find my website.
Okay. Excellent, folks. You know what to do.
Good SEO return then. All right, folks. So for our very first giveaway of the season, our winner of a paperback copy of Death in a Ghostly Hue is Mizan. Congratulations, Mizan.
All right, Mizan. Woo!
Mizan, if you could kick your your mailing address to the top of my inbox by emailing giveaways@itsbookishtime.com. That would be greatly appreciated. I'll make sure that I get your information on over to Susan. Susan,
Great.
This 30 minutes flew by in the blink of an eye. I hope that you had fun with us here. It was wonderful chatting with you. Congratulations on the conclusion of your Art Center Mystery trilogy. Yes. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And we hope that you'll come back and chat with us when your next Endurance mystery comes out. It would be great to catch up with you then.
I will keep you in mind. Absolutely.
All right. We look forward to it.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our bookish moment for today. We will be back later this week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for an episode of the Bookish Hour, again with Daphne Silver as our guest. We look forward to having you there. If you're watching this after the fact and have any questions for us, please feel free to leave a comment and like and subscribe to our channel to make sure that you catch all of our bookish fun. So without further ado, everybody, enjoy the rest of your week if we don't see you on Thursday. And until then, stay bookish. Bye-bye, everybody.